I'll call the meeting to order at 7:30. We'll call the roll.
Supervisor Gailson Strasburg.
Here.
Trustee Kate Cassell McNally.
Here.
Trustee Stephen Mosier.
Here.
Trustee Danielle Rubin.
Here.
Administrator Larisha Hopkins.
Here.
Madam Supervisor, we do have a quorum for business.
And for the record, Elliot Robbins absent. We'll now stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Supervisor's report is much shorter today because we haven't been apart too long. We had a lovely party for the 50th anniversary at the Winnetka Northfield Library down the street. At the Winnetka branch, they have a wonderful exhibit about how the library system has changed facilities, their technology. And what I thought was kind of the most interesting was they had what the most checked out book was for each decade. And apparently people were not ashamed to take out 50 Shades of Grey.
Yep.
So very cool. Obviously check out all the work they've done there and made my appointment to use the Maker Lab. Get ready for the holiday season. So if you haven't been down there, they have some really cool stuff. I'm gonna be etching a cutting board. We had our turkey giveaway. So thank you to Kate for helping. But it was always fun to be able to see some of the clients and get a little bicep workout on those turkeys. Winnetka Presbyterian has been a great host for us. So we thank them and our volunteers as well. The various community groups that put together the baskets were a big hit. So we will continue to do that, and we're getting ready for our winter holiday giveaway coming up on the 20th. So if you're interested in taking part in that, I think it was helpful that Kate was there on the early side, so I could hold down the fort here while Larisha was at the church with Brian and Jeannie. Right, so having that kind of coverage was very useful.
Am I right that it's 10 to 2 on the 20th?
It should be 10 to 12 again.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought.
So we've consolidated the hours.
Yeah.
We were finding people were coming earlier anyway.
Yeah.
There were a couple that trickled in a little afternoon. So we didn't say no when we knew they were coming. And we were able to give a few extras to some of our congregate housing in the area. So Threshold came, Scott was able to take the turkeys.
Thresholds, Clearbrook, Lamb's Farm. And I think that's it as far as organizations are concerned.
So while we were doing that, we had the refresh downstairs in the pantry. If you haven't taken a look, it looks nice and bright. And probably just a general good idea to not have carpet where you have food spill and stuff like that. So we're gonna continue that process in the basement. But as you will see, we're gonna come close on our building number. So it'll probably be after the fiscal. Because we do always want to be ready for emergencies. Any questions on supervisor's report?
Shortest one of the year.
Yeah. Only a couple weeks between, and there was a Thanksgiving holiday.
Exactly, in the presentation of the minutes. Now, I care deeply about it. I listened to it over and over. I could recite things that you guys have said, Elliot, that discussion, like over and over. In the October, there were so many issues, changes in the agenda. I'm not making an excuse. I'm just saying, I really care about it. Even with that, there's still errors and, my point is, I had the October done. I needed to consult with Gail. We've never had a supervisor do so many things. I mean, Stephen, that's why I chuckled when you said short, because it's very challenging. I tried slow speeds. I tried my notes. It's very difficult, but it's a compliment to our supervisor and the amount of activity. So I consulted with October and they're done now. Not that you can review them, but they're really accurate, except I just, finished the supervisor report with like six things. Not 20.
Are you familiar with software now that you can do a report?
Stephen, it's not the same, like verbatim stuff, it's not, you're supposed to capture the details, all the motions, all those things. I mean, I guess I could get that and just change it, but it's not, I write these from what you say, and I mean, I'm really proud of them because they're supposed to be minutes supposed to capture. The trend now is everybody's saying go AI and just have it recorded and, but that's not really minutes, at least from the way I've been trained on.
Well, I think there's two things for us, right? I mean, do you want the minutes themselves?
Yeah,
Have you been making good use of the Civic Clerk software?
not yet, so.
So let's do that, for that next meeting, you can see how it improves the workflow.
Yeah, that might be big help, but, I'm not trying to make an excuse, but I really care about this and it's really challenging. Some of our discussions, you guys go back and listen, are very challenging and like keeping track of everything and getting it right. So I don't know, I know there are some changes, Kate, my mom was a proofreader.
Yeah,
so I
bottom of
think she's
page
got it.
1 of 5 for the
Okay.
November 19th minutes. There looks like there's some spacing issues around the bullet points, if you could just check on that.
Yeah.
And then on the third bullet point, the correct name of the parish is Saints
Yes,
Joseph
okay,
and
and
Francis,
no saint in front of Francis, just Francis,
Saints
okay. Okay, thanks,
Joseph
got it. Great.
and Francis
Okay,
Xavier, Xavier.
okay,
I would move to approve those November minutes with those corrections in mind. I thought it was a good effort, Jerome. I thought we captured the gist of what we done.
it was
Second.
challenging, thank you.
Any additional discussion? If you could just make it clear in the discussion of supervisors, compensation that I recused, I know you already wrote that I abstained.
And that was, I had seen, I don't even know whether.
So where it says lengthy
So I'll put that
discussion
in.
ensued, just say supervisor has recused.
Okay.
No,
Add that
yeah,
in,
thank you.
okay, and what, could I at least give you the October minutes? I just consult with Gail, and then you can look them later, maybe approve it another time.
I would like to look at them before our January
Please.
meeting.
Okay,
That's
great,
perfect.
well, why don't I send right now?
So we have a pending motion. All those in favor of approving the November 19th to 2024 meeting minutes as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, passed. We have is there a motion to table the approval of the October meeting minutes
So
to the
moved.
next meeting?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, passed. Financial reports. I will give, oh, sorry, clerk's report.
Just a quickie, that, no objections were filed during the objection period, and that's all you need to, the good news, because, people must be satisfied. I have had some inquiries about things, but that's not gonna be it.
Wonderful. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed my assessor. So assessor's report, Jan.
Yes, my only item is happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you, Jen. And back at you.
Thank you.
Hope to see Many
My
of you at the
apologies,
holiday
Jan, for
party.
not calling you during the roll call. Assessor Church.
That's okay. I logged on while you were calling roll, so you might have missed me.
Yep. And we'll let the record reflect that trustee Robbins is present.
And I apologize on the record. I was a couple minutes late.
Okay, now we're on financial reports. Mr. Howard, I will give you power. All right, very good.
Thanks. Good evening, everybody. Let's walk through the financials for the 9 months ended, 1 second. Okay, there we go. Ended November 30th. Again, 75% of the way through our fiscal year. Taxes in full, you can see 3.7 million. So we had a pretty conservative budget, as we kind of mentioned last month. We are seeing those reassessment numbers that come onto the tax rolls now outside the camp increase what we're receiving, as well as late collections, and then also some rounding from the county as they round to 3 decimals. So again, better than budget in terms of taxes. Replacement tax in at about 54,000, so we're at 58% there. Now the state did recoup some of that money, so we are seeing those numbers down year on year across all our local governments. Interest is already a beat for the year at 87,000 collected. We're 74% better than budget there. Passport fees at 83% looks very strong at 25,000 collected and a $30,000 budget. So all in, we look very good. Already a beat on the top line, 3.9 million collected, 3.7 million is the budget, so we're up about 6%. As we go into expenditures, again, a lot of green on this right-hand side. Only a few outliers. All the agency programs at 67%. Child care services up here at about 79%, just based on timing of those cash flows. Building in town, we know that's a little bit accelerated based on some building repair, that sort of thing, 91% spent there, and financial assistance at 89%. Everything else coming in at or below that 75% mark where we are in the year, 2.5 million in total, 3.8 million is the budget, so all in, we're at 64% of the budget spent. We have a nice surplus right now, 1.4 million. Again, that'll come down over the 4 remaining months. And again, we're at about almost 3.4 million in ending fund balance today. Look at the pie charts here. Fund distribution pretty much unchanged from last month. 96% property tax, replacement tax about 1%, interest 2, passports 0.6, other 0.1. And then on the expenditure side, agency programs at 44%, childcare 6, projects 5, contractual services 6, assessor 2, building town hall expenses at 5, financial assistance at almost 13, pantry almost 5, personnel 14, elected officials 1. So you can see the beat year in terms of revenues versus budget and expenditures. We still have a ways to go. Again, that's going to decrease our current surplus position over the next 3 months. And then again, in the detail here, we did self-correct this. Sorry, it did not make the financial packet, but this has been corrected where the budget needed to be added for the Glencoe special needs. That was submitted. And so that's going to be a self-correct on the next financial statement. You'll see that added. Outside of that, I'm happy to take any questions on the details, but I do want to take a real quick glimpse here. 3.3 million across all funds. Again, we've got almost 2.4 million of that in our managed accounts. Rates still coming down. We saw another 25 basis point cut from the Fed. The Fed may pause now, just given some of the economic indicators. That's what we're kind of hearing, but they do continue to expect rate cuts into 2025. So just something to keep in mind is these interest rates will start coming down, towards the end of this year into next year. But that concludes my presentation. Be happy to take any questions from the board.
I'm not sure this is for James or maybe for someone else, but on the projects, the budget of 532, I think we went through that again. What were the projects? What did we budget? 532,000.
I would, page number.
Page number 2 of 9 in the front. Under expenditures.
4 of 74, that's another way to say it.
It's under expenditures. It's for the 9 months ended November 30th. It's the first page of the financial summary.
Wait, other projects you're saying?
Yes, it's projects. We have a budget of 532,000. We've only spent 133,000.
Yeah, I've got it pulled up here. It's peer jury funds that's been spent, back to school supplies, our community support grants that hasn't been spent. Oaktown Scholarship one time that's been spent, and then new program funds that makes up the 532 budget.
And we're gonna have a big surplus there, will we not? Or
No, the community support.
community
grant.
support grants come out of it. Okay,
So
gotcha.
those, we had the deadline for that, be earlier this year. So that just happened last Monday. And there was a lot of, explaining that to everyone, make sure everyone got it in.
And that could be about 250-ish.
We'll spend the entire amount. That's 350
Oh, 350, very good.
Yeah.
Now it makes sense.
in all likelihood.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you.
Exactly. So we do intend to get those out before the end of the fiscal so that we can actually close out our books accurately.
Did you do it this year on the basis of number of people who applied and then divided by the number that you had, or?
Once I get the numbers is when we determine what the actual grant is.
Right.
Right? So if we do have a excessive number, the grant itself could be lower.
Do you have an excessive number, you're saying?
Oh, I don't have the final numbers, so Jean gives me a list of those who she's verified.
Okay.
So this should not take as long this year, because if you recall, we did change the process slightly. So if you have a disability that hasn't changed substantially, you don't have to submit
Right.
certifications, which people seem to be very happy about.
Yeah.
So getting lots of good feedback on that one.
Is Jim's gonna be able to stick around so
Yeah.
we can talk about the Illinois funds?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
I warned him. Yep. Any other questions on the financial report? Seeing none, We're now in line for verification of claims, trustee Moser.
Yeah, got it. 1 second.
Of course.
I move to approve the expenditures from the town fund from November 1st, 2024 to November 30th, 2024, as presented in the financial records this evening.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Supervisor Eisenberg,
Yes?
trustee Cassell
Yes.
Nelly, trustee Robbins,
Yes,
trustee Moser,
Yes.
trustee Rubin.
Yes. And note for any potential future trustees, the verifications of claims gets easier on year 4, because you know who all the vendors are. At the beginning, there's a lot of questions about what the vendors each was and all that, so. All right, we'll now entertain a motion to adjourn to the public hearing. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. We're now in a public hearing regarding the proposed levy 2024 for taxes to be collected in 2025. Is there any public comment? Seeing none. We've presented the board with a tax levy ordinance 2024-02, which provides for a 1% tax levy extension in both funds. Is there any discussion?
I believe that there was a last minute change
Okay.
to some language. Can I just know exactly where that was?
Yep, just in the first,
Agency block grants?
instead of agency block grants, I changed that to agency services. Because we cannot make grants as a township.
Change it to what?
We can't make agency block grants as a township. We can do agency service contracts. So I changed it to agency services.
and do we reflect the increase in salaries on this levy, or is that on the next levy?
Right, so the levy will cover next year's budget, right? We'll be paying for next year's activities off of this extension.
Then I was wondering whether, on page 1 of the ordinance, whether we've got those salaries correct under supervisor and clerk.
Oh, let's take a look.
We've got those at 15 and 12.
Should, James, should these be showing what we're anticipating then?
It's actually always in arrears. We always show the current year's budget with next year's levy, and then that levy actually does pay for the fiscal, what will be the fiscal 26 budget year when we collect it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we haven't passed a budget.
Correct.
Right. I always thought that was weird and backwards, but yes.
Yeah.
It is.
I'm not, that's beyond my pay grade. That's discussed. Any other questions?
When we,
Or, yeah, comment.
go ahead.
That's just a typo.
Oh, please.
It's not.
In the past, we have often got a 1% increase on the town fund and left the general assistance at 0. So I'm curious to know why we have to change that.
We also were not using the general assistance fund very much, and we now are.
Okay.
So our costs have gone up significantly in there, which was, intended. But in order to maintain those levels in the future, I'm recommending the 1%.
Is there any opportunity going forward to shift money from the town fund to general assistance?
No. Oh, from town to general assistance, not the other way.
The other way
Yes.
around.
So that we can do, we can spend town fund money for general assistance activities, but we cannot do the opposite.
So given that we're operating in a surplus, even though expenses have gone up, is there enough money there to, if we run short on general assistance, that we can fund it with township if we don't take the 1% assessment?
So, and James, you can also chime in as well. But I'm seeing, we're already at 80%, is it more, on financial assistance this year? And as far as truth in budgeting goes, I'd rather make it increase the GA budget as well.
Okay.
Same with the increase in our both need and costs in the pantry, right? And then of course, increase in salaries, because we do now have our food pantry manager and our GA director GA portion on the GA fund.
Who's the food pantry manager?
Brian,
Okay, so it's just give him a new title, different, because he's
Yeah.
making less than he used to,
he's now food pantry manager. Yep,
but he makes less money than he was.
Yep. yep. He
So
was
that's
community
it.
services coordinator, yep, which is Steve's
He's on a
job.
different bucket
Yeah.
now.
Question for James. You know, I'm still, with the surplus that we're running, I would love not to do the 1%, but I kind of sense where we're going as a board. How does the 1% for New Trier Township compare with other townships and units of local government?
Oh, I'd say you're pretty much in line with what most are doing this year. They know they're gonna get capped back, as typical. You add the loss and cost and then get capped back to the 3.4, which is the cost of living. You know, as we did our analysis that we looked at last month, even on a 1% levy, you're not gonna be able to offset a 5% increase in expenditures, let's say, in next year's budget. So we'll have to make up for it in other areas like interest income, which we talked about. Also, though, those rates are coming down. So I think 1% is a good number, given, you know, where we're seeing interest rates. 94% of your revenue is in taxes. And so I think just to keep up with expenditures, cost of living, salary increases, that this is a good levy for the township.
It is your recommendation that we pass the 1%.
Yes,
Is
it
that
is.
fair? Thank you, James.
You're welcome.
Additional discussion?
Section 1,
Mhm.
the fourth word, I don't think the 3 should be capitalized.
Section 1, first, the 3,
Oh,
probably not.
You're right.
I'm gonna tutor my kid in grammar. Yeah. Any additional questions? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Eisenberg,
Yes.
trustee Cassell McNally,
yes.
trustee Robbins,
Yes.
trustee Moser,
Yes.
trustee Rubin.
Yes. Our ordinance passes.
James file it then, or do you want me to?
If you could file.
Okay,
Yeah, right?
I used to do it in person. All
You
those
can do
years.
it online. Do it online.
We can typically file that through the Cook County portal for you guys.
Oh,
Thank you,
James.
thank you, James.
You're welcome.
All
Yes,
right.
it is 2024.
Is there a motion to reconvene the Board of Trustees meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are now in line for public comment on the general agenda. Seeing none. An update on the Mayor's Monarch Challenge. Trustee Dale McNally.
We did it again. Congratulations. We are personally saving the monarchs. So yeah, so I actually was on it this year and, you know, met the filing deadline well in advance and it was reviewed and, they've approved us for their seal of butterfly approval. And so yes, we're good. So it's just, you know, remember that this was something that came to us from constituents. It is, as I always say, it's an easy give. It's completely free. And so it's one of those things that just takes, you know, somebody ushering it through.
Yep.
And I'm happy to be the person that does that. So thank you guys.
Did you see the new design for the Illinois flag? It features a butterfly.
They agreed on it?
Yeah, well, they haven't decided.
Oh,
It's
A finalist?
like a final, yeah.
I'll have to take a look.
What's
Which
wrong with
other?
our current flag?
Oh, there's a whole.
Well, that's an
process, you
option.
have to look it up.
Flag.
But if you remind me, I would like to give out, butterfly weed for during the parades this
That would
year.
be a great one. That would be a really good one to do. That can be part of our, you know, 2025 challenge.
Exactly.
All right.
Do you know how many outposts there are in the township?
What do you mean outposts?
One of my neighbors has a designated
Oh, yeah.
monarch, but
Yeah.
that's what I'm asking, how many of those exist? Do you have any?
It depends on how, because different entities like, consider themselves, or like put themselves up for this. So the village of Winnetka, the village of, Wilmette, so a number of our different, ones are counting themselves. And, frankly, you don't need like an individual, obviously, can do it in their own backyard without being sponsored by, a village entity or a township
It looks
entity.
pretty official, that's why I was curious.
Yeah,
Well, now I'm just gonna come over to your neighborhood and we're gonna check it out.
Okay,
you're talking about the Monarch way station signs? Is that what it looks like?
yeah,
There is, like, you can see it on the map, so, I mean, it looks like a lot.
Oh, that's on Monarch Watch.
Yeah.
That's a different organization.
Right, so the whole, yeah, there's different ones, right?
Yeah,
Okay, but yes,
yeah.
we
this
will
is
continue to
national.
help
Yeah.
save the Monarch. Okay.
Remarkable business, I think that is. In the town, the Illinois.
Okay, we're gonna discuss, resolution 2024-04. Was it? Okay. Which is to permit the investment, in Illinois funds. James is here to respond to any questions that you may have for your suggestion. James, do you want to give your original 2 cents on the resolution?
Yeah, sure. I think Illinois Funds is, very safe in terms of a place to put your money. I think the only thing to be aware of is, as we see these rate cuts take hold, you are going to see a pretty immediate fall in your interest rate. So the rates have come down from over 5% at Illinois Funds, and I just looked, it's about 4.74%. So just to make sure, we stay competitive, is what we've seen is, rates come way down, and then Illinois Funds really isn't the best game in town anymore. Even though you are well protected. So in my mind, if we are going to open up a fund there, we just want to make sure between what we have being managed on our behalf in Illinois funds, we get the best bang for the buck. I think it's prudent if you were to open an account, maybe to wait until tax monies come in February and March, and then we can move some of those proceeds over into the new accounts that we set up.
Makes sense to me.
James, I am so pleased with what Sawyer Faldudo is doing for us and with the mix of assets the mix of instruments that they're using. And with some backup provisions that we have, if, we're through the Schwab system and so on. Illinois is finally turned the corner. I'm very pleased that our bond ratings are improving. We're getting some of our pension liabilities under control. We got a long way to go. But I've been, very cautious about, investments in the state. And the mix of assets that was explained to us, it doesn't seem to be as secure as necessarily where we have our money in Sawyer Faldudo. And they're doing such a good job for us, and they've got things dispersed so nicely between bonds and money funds. I'm hesitant to leave something that's been so good. I mean, since April of 2023, I think they've generated $125,000 plus or minus in interest for us, and it's going so well, and I'm just a little leery about that. In terms of insurance and backup and so on, how would you compare the state to our mix at Sawyer Faldudo?
I think with Sawyer, you're going to get a little bit of a broader net of investments that you're able to look at when times are tough. So I think now as we head into a kind of a lower interest rate environment, they're going to be able to manage our money better for us than just keeping it all at Illinois funds. So I don't have an issue with investing some money at Illinois funds to diversify some. But I think as rates fall, what you're going to find is that you're going to get better returns from Sawyer. Even though, rates right now are good, good across most banks, so I don't think you have an issue of doing it now, but as times get tougher to find yield, that's where the money manager really pays off in my mind, because they really can cast that wide net and get you safe CDs that are all FDIC insured that are paying, 4% and 5% when everything else is paying 3%.
And
So
what do you think? Yeah, FDIC insured versus state of Illinois, no insurance, correct?
Well, yeah, I think they're AAA rated. I believe the fund itself is very high grade. So I don't think you have an issue on the protection side.
But it's not
but I-
backed by the United States Treasury, which FDIC insured means it's backed by the US government.
Correct.
this-
I think, yeah, I still think you're very safe with Illinois funds. I think if you look through their diversification and what, everything is very, very high grade, and they do get ratings that are all AAA. So I don't see that, you're gonna lose any protection going to Illinois funds. But what I would say is you may lose yield as rates continue to decline. So that would really be what I would watch for as we start to set back into more of a 3% rate over the next year. I would be very mindful just that you're going to see their rates drop on a daily basis as the Fed cuts rates.
And their fees though are much lower.
Not much. Sawyer Falduno is pretty low.
Pretty low, yes, but
Hmm.
I was shocked at how low Illinois funds was. If I recall, it was 7 basis
I
points
think so.
versus 20. So,
A couple of comments on, one, is not suggesting that we use current money. He suggests we do next year's
right,
tax dollars, so we're not taking it away from Baldudo, but we're using it next year's revenues, that's one point. The other thing is Baldudo FDI insured? I don't think they
Right.
are.
The Schwab funds where they have our money are FDIC insured.
right, but only
Oh,
up
that's-
to the max.
What, to 250?
All the investments are under FDIC limits, and so they are FDIC insured. But I'm in agreement. I would use Illinois funds more like the money market and get rates that are better than Harris, like we have set up today. I think that's a better approach to say, okay, we're going to have Illinois funds act as our money market, because draws from Illinois funds only take, I think it's like 2 days to get the money back into the account. So we can use that as our money market, get a better rate than Harris, be very safe in doing so, and that way kind of maximize the money that we have sitting at Harris, kind of in a more of a money market approach.
I also agree that for diversification purposes alone, we should do it. I don't like everything in one pot.
I have a question for you. If we vote to permit investments into the Illinois funds,
Mhm.
then we decide as a group how much funds will be invested, or is that a decision that you will be making on your own?
Let me look at those.
The ordinance gives her the authority to make that decision on it.
Advice and consent. Advice. Right. I mean, obviously, I would be working with James, to try to maximize both our returns, but with the conservative desire to maintain our funds.
Yeah, I think in discussions with Harris a while ago, we pretty much knew that we weren't going to get a lot of bang for the buck, even when times were very good and we were seeing other banks at like 5%. Harris was coming in at 2s and 3s. So I think this kind of maximizes those returns, and we still get the brokered or cash management approach with Sawyer Faldudo. I think that's a win-win.
Yeah,
So Danielle, I thought you asked a wonderful question, and I'm wondering if we'd want to put a little bit more, restriction in the resolution, maybe kind of something to the effect that at the present time, we're considering, the Illinois funds to be more like the proportionality to be more like the money market, just, more like in terms of a money market. Not to take funds out of Sawyer Faldudo and somehow divide them up with the state, but to kind of have some language to the effect that kind of puts Illinois funds in the place of BMO Harris.
so I'm gonna caution against that.
Me too.
Sometimes we have to take things from various funds to cover particular needs, and just, hampering that ability to administer things on a day-to-day without coming to the board would be complicated.
I agree with that. Do we want to put any parameters? I mean, and this would be for the supervisor's protection as well. Do we want to put any parameters on limitations on what can go to the Illinois funds?
When I'd be reporting to you, should we make any changes, and it would be included in our financial reports for your review.
I agree. I think it's a bad idea to give the put in the ordinance, give the board some kind of authority. When I think it goes beyond what our responsibility is in that regard. I think that responsibility is Gail's. And so I wouldn't wanna restrict that.
And along that same line of thought, we don't have anything that restricts with regard to the Sawyer Faldudo funds, correct?
Right,
I hear you. Just threw that out there, kind of a follow through on Danielle's question.
but similarly, we provide the statements, you can see exactly where the money is going. At any moment.
Will we get similar documentation from Illinois that we get from Sawyer Faldudo?
We did have reports that they provide,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know if it will be obviously the same, but
It might
you know,
be
they give us something, a statement.
Yeah, you'll get monthly statements with how much you've made on the account, basically. It's not like you're in individual investments like Sawyer Faldudo, where you have kind of a managed account approach where you get to see all the investments. It'll just be kind of like a bank statement, like a money market, and show you the interest that you've made.
And James, have you seen other townships invest in the Illinois funds?
Yes. Yep. It's pretty popular amongst local governments. I think it's more popular now that rates are good. When rates were lower, you know, people wanted to go and try to branch out and find other options, but now that rates are back up and may stay that way for a while, you know, I think it's a good option.
James, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, I'll call the question. We'll go ahead and do a roll call for fun.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Trustee Cassell McNally,
Yes.
trustee Robbins,
Yes,
trustee Mosier,
Yes.
trustee Rubin,
Yes.
and supervisor Eisenberg.
Yes. Okay. Discussion and approval for the schedule of 2025 regular board meetings. We stuck with second Tuesday with a few exceptions for various holidays. So please take a look and let me know if there's anything that jumps off as being problematic.
It is not problematic for me, but the October meetings falls on Diwali.
Yes, so
Again, I'm fine.
my question is, does anyone know if that's a day you're not allowed to work?
what did we say the 21st one?
October
Diwali.
21st.
October 21st. It's a Hindu.
Oh,
I had Diwali on another day, hold on. Oh, no, wait, I'm looking at 24th one.
You can generally work on Diwali.
Okay.
Not a federal holiday in most countries.
So I was trying to avoid holidays where you are not permitted to work.
Great.
That's my thought.
July 8th is my 45th anniversary. I will not be here.
Mazel tov. We will not discuss you.
I didn't hear that.
July.
and Danielle and I won't be here either.
Touche. Really? Wait, okay, any other changes? Okey-dokey. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, well, I propose that the 2025 Board of Trustees meeting schedule be adopted. All those, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, we have a trustees board agenda meeting list, okay. Committee liaison reports, life stages funding.
So before I start that, I've just counted, there are 76 Monarch way stations in the township.
Thank you.
You know, I'm gonna tell that
There you go.
to Melanie to put.
So we had our last agency presentation meeting on the 3rd and our decision meeting is on the 17th. The one thing that I wanted to flag is a couple of very vociferous members are starting to look back in previous years and noting that the requested amount for this year for this committee is a lot higher than in the past. And it's an increase both in the number of agencies. We've got a number of new agencies in this kind of committee. But also, as I said last time, nobody's asking for less money. So it's, when I say a lot, it's, 216,000 more above last year is being requested. So, really happy that 1% went through. So that's, it's something to flag.
Absolutely.
How much of that 260 is new agencies, which comes out of a different pot than?
Oh, no, it does not.
Come on.
No, you're thinking about new program funds.
Okay,
That's for off cycle. So those who,
well, just off cycle.
that's just off cycle, yeah. What was I saying? What is useful though is that we no longer give budget to each committee and tell them to divide.
Yes, that is, yeah, especially in a day and age when Steve has been so good about getting the word out to, potential agency partners. And thus we are getting more requests. So it's a good problem to have.
Absolutely.
Could the agencies justify why they're asking for assistance?
Some
Some couldn't?
to be determined, my
Okay,
friend.
fair enough.
So I don't wanna,
That's fine.
I don't wanna-
Decision night has not occurred.
yeah.
So I
Okay.
do find that to be the most pressing
Mhm.
question, right? As well as how many people are you serving and what's the cost of service? Mental health funding and oversight.
We have, everyone is presented except for one, but we are going to have decision night on Monday.
Wonderful.
So, mental health, as you know, the demands are higher than they've been, we're post-COVID. We also have, people that are concerned about, going forward, what the lay of the land's gonna be. And there's a growing awareness that mental health services are necessary and helpful when people like Michael Phelps go on national TV and, he goes for some and he's found it to be very helpful. I mean, the cat's kind of out of the bag that there are people that could benefit from it. So yes, the increases are there and, but we'll see how fiscally conservative the committee is when you get to decision night. And then I remind all the trustees that, while we'd like to support the committees and their decisions, we have the final say as a whole when we're voting on these.
Right, disability funding, disability support funding.
Yeah, so, all the presentations have been made. We did have decision night last week. Yeah, and you know what, there are two new agencies asking for funds. Some agencies are asking for more. But it was not a very contentious meeting. I love this group. It's such a lovely group. And yeah, so I know, they'll be presenting their decisions, but absolutely, very nice.
In a general sense, did you find your committees to be more fiscally conservative or more generous or?
That's a good question. I think that the agencies were not asking for significantly more. And these agencies have been around for such a long time and do such good work, Lamb's Farm, other agencies like that. I think it was pretty easy to see the reason that they were asking for increases and for the committee to agree to those increases.
Was there any discussion about the phase out of the sub minimum wage?
There was not, there was not discussion about that. We did hear from agency after agency about how difficult it is to retain staff
Yep.
because they just can't pay staff what they need to. So that was a really big problem.
Wonderful, special projects.
I am giving serious consideration of doing something for the youth component that we've talked about. And I'm not sure exactly what direction I want to go with it, but I'm thinking perhaps on the board as honorary members, not voting members, obviously. And so that's kind of where my head's gone at this point. And also it relative to the centers themselves and are they working, et cetera. So I was on the committee that did the youth and I thought we didn't drop it, but we didn't really do much with it per se. Because something kind of happened naturally, but I thought it might be something to look into more deeply and try and incorporate more youth into the township.
I support that, sounds fabulous.
And for what it's worth, when Haven showed up for their funding hearing, about 20 youth members showed up, including the 2 that we met with at the
Well,
library.
that's where I was gonna start my inquiry.
It's a wonderfully active youth board, and of course, the new facility, which they'll talk about on when they present to the trustees, is up and running and doing very well. It's right next to New Trier High School, and they,
That's kind of where I was gonna start my discussion. I'm gonna call it actually get some.
absolutely.
I was in the teen room at Wilmette Public Library the other day and noted the advertisement for Warming House Haven. And I was very happy with that kind of synergistic cross population.
Well, if we can get the different centers going well, and then somehow incorporate the kids into the township, I think that'd be a real accomplishment.
Absolutely. Staff reports, we have received staff reports. Does anyone want to remove anything from those reports for discussion?
I have a few things. Lucia, I get the sense that this Cab Connect dial ride is the bane of your existence. And I am gently gonna ask, how utilized is this program in the township as compared to historical use? With an eye towards, is this something that is worth the headache and heartache to keep trying to make this happen?
Okay, so when I first got here in 2014, I would say there may have been in between 500 and 700 dial ride coupons that I would have to enter every month. Right now, I would say there's maybe between maybe like 275 to 350, somewhere in there. A big part of it was the pandemic, and a lot of people obviously like stopped riding in cabs. A big part of the population is seniors. Some of it is people who are disabled. We have some young people who are disabled on dial ride. The usage has gone down significantly.
But you still think 275 to 350 monthly?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's okay, that answers my question.
Yeah.
It's a lot less, but it's still a utilized program.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, I'm sorry.
If anyone knows of an alternative to
Yeah,
Cab Connect.
but it's really used by
Yeah.
the same people. I wouldn't say like there's over 1,100 people in the database. Some people sign up for Dial Ride just because they know it's a program that they can come and sign up for because they're a senior, but they don't use it.
Okay.
So we're trying to do away with these paper coupons and, pivot for the people who are using the program. But Cab Connect is terrible. I've even, had a conversation multiple times with my IATA group, and people still haven't been able to communicate with them.
So we've got 1,100 in the database. Do we have a sense of how many of those 1,100 have, utilized this in the last, 12, 18 months?
I would say maybe 100.
Okay.
And it's not the best system. It was made in Access, because that's another thing.
Right.
HTML Global wants me to get away from the program that the Dial a Ride is housed in.
Yep.
And it's not like a very, good program for me to go in and like query and say who used it. You can't get reports or anything out of it because it's in Microsoft Access. So that's another reason why we're trying to do away with the paper program and, pivot over to Cab Connect. I've talked to some other administrators. Some of them were using Uber. That was too much, administratively trying to figure that out.
Okay.
Giving people Uber cards, monthly. Some people don't have a good enough phone to do Uber. So that's another problem that we run into with some of our seniors.
Okay.
That they don't have the technology to be able to
Utilize
ride
it.
share. So.
Okay.
And we do have a Lyft account that allows us to use for people who don't even have a phone, where we initiate it. But that won't, they'd have to like be here and come from us. That's where, when we send people
Right,
off
how
to
we
like
know.
off to the respite center
Sure.
or the
Yeah.
living room, right?
Right.
Who are in need of crisis intervention.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
about just 10 seconds from going to Cab Connect.
Yeah.
Because I've been contacting them for 2 months now.
Yeah.
Email and phone, so we're winding down on our coupons. It's not going as rapidly as it used to, but we don't wanna have to order 20,000 coupons again. So, I'm really hoping to have that resolved by the time the fiscal year starts, though.
Okay.
Do we have any other, programs? We never did the disability one with the Jewish Generation. Right,
They stopped the program, yes,
they stopped the program.
yes.
Because of COVID or otherwise? you
It
know?
was during COVID. We do have the contract with that other disability organization that Brian had found, right, that does, mobility transfers.
Right, okay.
It is, I don't think
It's
really anyone
expensive,
uses it.
nobody uses
It's
it.
very expensive and we're subsidizing it highly and it's still very expensive.
Okay,
So,
but nobody uses it.
we're
No.
here if people need it.
Yeah. We do have
Yeah.
supported transportation with North Shore Senior Center, but from what people are describing, it's a little bit hard to use. It's, I guess, like, not the easiest thing to do, and they kind of restrict where you can go and how you can use it, how many times per week. With Dial-A-Ride, you can use all of those coupons in 2 days if you wanted to, it's up to you, but we did give North Shore Senior Center that $10,000 for them to start as for the transportation for us again, so it is another option for us, but,
Yep, hopefully they are.
yeah.
Yeah. So look forward to hearing about that. Anything else?
In Brian's and Jean's, I feel like there are some discrepancies,
Yeah,
having to do with the Thanksgiving dinner stuff. Brian says 84, Jean says over 90, not a big deal, just a thing. I think it's also notable that, was it last year or the year before that we ran out? And now we're, very clearly doing better and being careful about things. And I know that that's a huge effort, on, the part of our incredible staff to, make sure that the people that are using, the pantry are, notified and, have this ready to go.
and we're checking to make sure they've used the pantry in the last year.
Yeah,
So we had in the past had people simply stop by.
Yeah.
Or they hadn't used the pantry in years, and we can't verify that they're qualified then. So now we do have a list there and we're trying to for tracking.
and then in Jean's, on the second page of hers, under the food pantry, I think that we've established there's just an error in her report that it's, the holiday,
Yes.
distribution is gonna be 10 AM to 12 PM, not 2 PM.
Right, that used to be to 2 p.m. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and then I think that's all I had.
Absolutely. Okay. Anything else on that?
I'm going to clean this up for James, the tax levy ordinance, if I have you and Jerome's permission to stamp it and send it to James tomorrow.
Thank you. Okay.
On our notarization, on our notary services, when's the last time we had somebody, who's our notary? Is it?
Steve,
And how many years ago was he? Is now
just a year.
just a year, because in the last year, the laws have changed
Oh,
significantly.
yes, he had to train.
He had to train from it.
Yeah,
So I'm wondering if it should be a free service.
it is,
It
oh, you're
is.
saying you should charge.
I'm wondering if we shouldn't charge something, maybe something less than everybody else charges, but something to recapture a little.
I like it being a value add of our township, but if we got down to needing additional revenue streams, it wouldn't be adverse.
My concern is that notarization has become so cumbersome and so many people are not re-upping. A lot of notaries are saying, I'm not gonna go through all this training and do all this stuff. It's so difficult. If we get a big influx of people requiring notarization, then we may have to.
Right, and we'll keep looking at it. I have not heard from him that it's become onerous.
Yeah, I don't think that it
Yeah.
is right now.
Yeah, so, I anticipated a lot of use during the municipal candidate filings, and we really only got, the Winnetka caucus, and, as far as I know.
Yeah.
yeah, even though we posted, like, seriously, there's a notary here,
Yeah.
come bring them. And I didn't feel comfortable using our own office, so I used, others, so. I
I
didn't want any kind of conflict of interest.
My
So-
suspicion in time will be that the demand increases, just because I think there's a.
We will keep a watch. Yep. All right, we're now in line for a motion to adjourn. Is there
I
second?
have a question,
Oh,
if we didn't get into it. And that was
Pull
the
my motion.
HTML
report,
report.
yes, which is an attachment to the administrator report, yeah.
One question I had, I'm just curious, who is Tim Peck?
That's our accountant.
So James, he works with James, yes.
Okay.
So since he has a township email, he also has to take training.
Stephanie and I need to take some micro classes now. Now
Yes,
that we've taken the macro, we need to take some micro.
yes, but at least you started, so I am proud of you.
Absolutely, yeah.
So the micros, are they even shorter than?
They're very
Yeah,
good
they're like
questions.
2 minutes.
Yeah, they're actually kind of fun, they're.
Yeah.
So, you'll have.
And you get into them by just opening up HTML?
It's in your portal that you go into to take the training.
Or like every week they'll send you an email saying, time for a micro training,
Yeah.
so just click on it and it'll.
Oh, okay.
Do you recommend any particular areas for the micro training? Cause I went on there today just for
No, there's so many of them.
so many,
Yeah.
but you'd like it to be in security.
Well, phishing seems to be
Yeah,
that.
yeah. They give
Yeah.
us what they want us to be trained on as far as using our email and stuff like that, so.
All right, now in line for a motion to
So
adjourn.
moved.
Second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, we are adjourned.